Okay, guys, welcome to part two of um, this movie collection video talking about my favorite sports movies. Where we last left off, I talked to you guys about Rookie of the Year. Well, let's continue on from there. Now the next one I picked is was released the same year as Rookie of the Year was 1993 and was more popular, and this movie has become a cult classic even today, and it's The Sandlot. I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of this or seen it, but this is about a kid who is new in this town, and summertime is on its way, and all he wants to do is make friends, and he likes baseball. So he meets up with with the leader of these Sandlot kids, and all he has to do is like catch a ball and throw a baseball in order to fit in. So he fits in, and then they have a whole bunch of fun during the summer, and then later on, he swipes his dad's prized possession baseball signed by Babe Ruth, and he accidentally hits a home run over the neighbor's fence. But the what the but the neighbor has this dog that ate a kid once, and a lot of those kids are afraid to go over the fence, so they think of ways to get the ball back. This is another, like I said, this is a cult classic, and everybody's familiar with this movie. And there's so many quotable lines and so many funny scenes. Definitely check this out if you haven't. The next one I picked is like a like an adult sports comedy, I guess you could say. But it's semi-pro. This is with Will Ferrell. And a lot of people say this isn't one of the best Will Ferrell movies, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious. It's about Will Ferrell, who plays the owner of an ABA team called the Flint Tropics. He's the owner, he's the coach, and he's also a pop singing star and a pregame announcer. So basically, he has four jobs in one. But he's wanting to get his team with the NBA, and then during a conference meeting, they announced that the top four teams will merge with the NBA. The top four teams with the ABA will merge with the NBA at the end of the season. So they hire Woody Harrelson to help the team play better. This is a really funny movie. Like I said, it's not one of the best Will Ferrell movies of all time, but it's still hilarious, and it's still one worth checking out, and even though it takes place during the 70s. So yeah. The next one I picked is a racing movie. The next two I'm gonna show are racing movies, but this one's a comedy, and everybody's familiar with it, I'm sure. It's Talladega Nights: The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, also with Will Ferrell, and this is another one of Will Ferrell's funniest movies. Semi-Pro is not as funny as this or Step Brothers, even though Step Brothers is not a sports movie, but this is about Will Ferrell's character, Ricky Bobby, who was born to race NASCAR, and at one point he does, and and he becomes so good at it that he wins so many races, and he gets a huge mansion, and he has a wife and two kids, and then Sacha Baron Cohen's character comes along, and it turns out that he's better than he is. And after a near-death experience crash that Ricky Bobby has, he about loses the will to race again, and then he gets his father, played by Gary Cole, to help him out a little bit, even though he was really harsh on him as when Ricky Bobby was growing up. Yeah, if you want a good auto racing movie, this would be a good one to watch as far as comedy goes. I mean, I've liked it since it first came out. And the next one I picked is another racing movie, and this is the most well known, and it's Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise. And if you're a Tom Cruise fan and you haven't seen this, you gotta check it out. It's pretty much all I gotta say. It's just check that out if you're a Tom Cruise fan and if you're a fan of NASCAR like me. And the next one I picked is another golf comedy, kind of like Caddyshack, but this one has Adam Sandler in it, and it's Happy Gilmore. And this is one of the funniest Adam Sandler movies, next to Billy Madison. And this is about Adam Sandler's character who with everything with him is hockey. He's always wanted to play hockey. He played high school hockey, and he was trying to get into, and every time he tries to get into the NHL, he fails miserably. And then he finds out that his grandmother's house is going to get repossessed unless he can pay, unless he and his grandma can get the $270,000 to the IRS in a certain amount of time. So, and then Adam Sandler's character discovers he's really good at golf, and so he decides to join the PTA tour in order to win some money and get his grandmother's house back. It's a really funny movie. Like I said, it's one of the funniest Adam Sandler movies ever made, next to Billy Madison. And one of the most memorable scenes in this movie is when Adam Sandler and Bob Barker are fighting one another. The next one I picked is an inspirational sports movie, and it's Remember the Titans. I have two inspirational sports movies from Disney, and this is one of them. It stars Denzel Washington, Will Patton, Donald Faison, Nicole Ari Parker, and a few others. It's made by Jerry Bruckheimer, and if you're a fan of movies based on true stories, this would be a good one to check out. This movie needs absolutely no introduction if you're a fan of football movies or films based on true stories. The next one is another film based on a true story, and it's The Rookie. This is actually the remake. I don't even own a copy of the original, nor have I seen the original. This stars Dennis Quaid, one of my favorite actors, and it's based off the true story in where Jimmy Morris plays a father, a chemistry teacher, and a high school baseball coach, and he blew out his shoulder at one point when he was playing, and then in 1999, when he promises his high school team that he'll start trying out again if they make it to district and they go to state, and once he starts trying out again, he eventually makes it to the big leagues. I kind of ruined the movie for you by saying that, but this is still a really great movie. It also stars Rachel Griffiths, Jay Hernandez, and Brian Cox, and it also stars Angus T. Jones, who's best known for playing Jake in 2.5 Men, in which about a year or so ago he retired from acting, and he's completely unrecognizable nowadays, and I think he's really religious now, so that's all I gotta say about that. And the next one I picked is a basketball comedy, and it's Like Mike with Lil Bow Wow and Jonathan Lipnicki and Morris Chestnut. This is about Lil Bow Wow's character, who plays an orphan who always got bullied and pushed around, and one day he finds this pair of old Nike sneakers that apparently are magic and used to belong to Michael Jordan. Then the next day he goes to an NBA game and wins some contest during a halftime show. And then the coach and the manager of the Los Angeles Knights decide that he could play in the NBA even though he's just a kid, but he plays really, really well. And one of his favorite players, played by Morris Chestnut, is his mentor. This is another funny film. And it also stars Crispin Glover, who you may remember as George McFly on the Back to the Future films, the first one anyway. Scoot these up. Alright. Now the next two I picked are the first two Air Bud films. And the first Air Bud movie is where this mean-spirited clown abuses this dog. And the dog runs away, and this kid named Josh Fram, it says here, apparently he's new in town, and he's having a hard time fitting in, and he finds the dog and asks if he wants to keep him, and then he finds out that he could play really good at basketball. So and it says there's no rule in the rule book that says the dog can't play basketball, so they let him in. This is another classic sports movie, and Air Bud Golden Receiver is basically just the same story about a dog who could play sports, except he's playing football instead of basketball. And apparently the kid's mom is getting married to a guy that he's having problems with. But yeah, these are pretty good movies. I mean, I used to have Air Bud World Pup, which is the one where he plays soccer, but unfortunately my VHS copy of that broke. The next one I picked is another one of Disney's best sports films. And it's pretty sure a lot of people have seen it. It's Angels in the Outfield with Danny Glover, Tony Danza, and Christopher Lloyd. It's basically about a kid who's he and his best friend are stuck in a foster home because apparently their parents didn't raise them very well, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, apparently his mom died and his dad isn't raising him very well, and then one day when he comes to visit him and says that he's going up north, Joseph Gordon-Levitt asks if they'll be a family again, and his dad says when the Angels win the pennant, and then Joseph Gordon-Levitt prays for Angels to come down and help the team win and play better. Like I said, this is another good Disney sports film that I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen. The next one I picked is a soccer movie, The Big Green. And it's about this is another funny film. It's about Olivia d'Abo plays this British school teacher who moves to America. She's from England, and she moves from England to Alma, Texas, which is one of the smallest towns in like the U.S. She moves there to be a school teacher, and apparently all the kids that she teachers, they're all troublemakers and just screw around a lot, and she gets them to form a soccer team. She tries to put together a soccer team to help them to get to know them better, and apparently Steve Guttenberg is her partner who plays this sheriff. This is another funny film, and it stars a lot of the child actors from a lot of well-known sports movies are in this, like Squints and Ham from The Sandlot are in this, and Alfalfa from The Little Rascals is in this, and Billy L. Sullivan, who's also in Little Big League, was also in this. So, and looks like we're going to have to go ahead and stop here, and there's going to be a part 3, which I'll go over the remainder of what I have, so be on the lookout for that.